Where are the happily married women? Have you guys noticed that no matter where you turn, no matter the platform, there's an excess of toxic relationships, people going through it, and even here on the coffee pod? What's going on? Well, apparently the single women, yes, the ones who are getting reported on a daily basis, also want to know where all the happily married women are. And I know a lot of married people are subscribed to my channel. This is going to be a really interesting, good video. And I'd like to know what you guys think. So, of course, feel free to chime in. Let's check it out.
A video just popped up on my For You page where a woman was asking if happily married women are gatekeeping their happiness. As a happily married woman, the answer is absolutely yes. And I'll tell you why. A
Mm,
lot of times when we try to say things like, we have a good husband, we have a husband that doesn't cheat, we have a good man, there's always going to be someone saying, oh, enjoy it for now. It's not going to last. There's always someone that's going to try and come rain on your parade. And that gets old pretty
right.
quick. I personally like to share things to encourage other women because there is so much negativity, especially on social media, a lot of man hating. I like to share my perspective because it's like, girl, not all men are like this. Not all men are crazy. Not all men are cheaters. But when you try to share, it's like people don't want to hear
Mm,
the happy. They don't want to hear the positive. They want to hear all the negatives. Yes, happily married women, a lot of times we're out there. We might not be very vocal because people always are so negative. And think about why it's so easy to always believe the negative versus the positive. Like we could have 10 women come out and say all men are cheaters and everybody's like, yeah, I agree with that. 100 women come out and say, I have a good man. I know he's not cheating. And people are like, are you sure?
right.
Are you sure about that? How do you know that? So I guess my point is like, just because you might not see a lot of happily married women sharing about their relationships, that does not mean that they don't exist. Most of the time, we decide not to talk about our relationships or share anything about our relationships because we're just tired of the negativity. It's like we have to convince people that we're happy. And it's like, why bother? Why
Right.
just be happy in obscurity?
I agree. Listen, I agree. You guys would know something that's really interesting. Most of the people I run into, it's no surprise, but at this point, are men who are married. Once in a while will be a woman if I've been recognized. And so, why am I saying that? Well, I think people just believe that people who are in fulfilled and grounded, strong marriages, they exist, but they keep to themselves for the exact same reasons she gave. And we're talking about online here. There's just too many people who are negative, and you don't owe them anything. You don't get anything from getting online and trying to help anybody who doesn't want to be helped. Let me give you an example. How I view most people who are in this dating market is picture a group of people throwing shit at each other. Literally, they're out there actually throwing shit at each other, and you want to go and try to convince them why they should stop throwing shit at each other. But a part of you is thinking, they might throw shit at me. Right? They're out there in chaos. People like to say the dating pool is filled with piss and shit. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're out there in chaos, shit on their faces, going through hell, getting dragged back and forth, out there in battle while you're walking peacefully, living your life. And now they're upset. They're like, hey, why don't you come over here? And because you don't want to listen. Because when the women say, I do this for my husband, I do that for my husband, they'll say, oh, I'll never do that. I'm not a slave. And the men get it too. Hey, I've got it on this channel. My final conclusion is F them. Now, of course, I'm being a bit facetious, but not really. I mean that towards people who aren't interested in hearing anything positive because they may not value the same type of relationship you have, which is fine. You got to be able to recognize that. You got to be careful. It's just best, from what I've seen, to keep your relationship offline. And if you believe that it's your job to get online and show different aspects and, talk about positive aspects, once in a while I do that too, not very often. Here on the Coffee Pod, we talk about the realities of marriage. Now, part of the reason I created Brew Brothers, which is a community that I created specifically for men who value marriage, private community, was so that men could have a space so they could talk about these things. Unfortunately, I haven't been as active as I would like to be in the community since building fathershaverights.com, but we're getting there. All right, so let's see some responses here. Of course, guys, curious to know what you think. Top comment here says, for those of us who are not yet married and want to be happily married, we would love to hear what you have to say. Is it worth it? If you want it that bad, pay for it. Pay for it to them, not me. Another person, he says, I've noticed that the moment someone starts praising their man publicly, it's almost jinxed it. I'm okay with keeping that happy part of my life to myself. I don't have anything to prove and don't feel any pressure to share with the world. It's also just one part of me. I'm so much more than my husband. I want you to imagine a man said this, right, about his wife. I'm so much more than my wife. Somebody else, she says, we're happy because we're private. Another person here added, we don't need outside validation. Okay, let's check out this next video here.
A woman posted a video and she was asking like where all of the women in happy relationships are, where all of the happy women in marriages are, and if we are gatekeeping our husbands and gatekeeping our relationships. And the answer at this point is like, yes. I did not used to, right? Like if you've been following me for a long time, you'll know this used to be a relationship account. Like this used to be me and my husband. It was just an account about us. But like after some time, it gets exhausting. And I don't mean it gets exhausting between the two of us. I mean, it gets exhausting between other people's comments. No matter what we did for each other, no matter how well we loved each other, there were always negative comments. And it's exhausting. He could be doing one of the most like hardest things in the world for me, and somebody would say that's bare minimum. I could be loving him in the way that he is asking to be loved, and people would say that I am not doing enough for him. I mean, you cannot win on this app.
Right.
After years and years of that, I just got tired. I got tired of dealing with negative comments, and I don't want to anymore. And I can only block but so many people before I lose my mind. So instead, I just switched to book content more. And like, yes, I still have my husband around, and when he fits into like the theme of the video, I'll still have him around. But like in general, yeah, I'm gatekeeping my relationship. I'm gatekeeping my husband now.
I don't see anything wrong with that. And listen, some people are able to put their relationship out there and they just don't care. I believe it just comes with more negativity than positive, right? And if you're a couple who's able to get out there and, do it in a way where you're not putting too much of your private life and it's not affecting you guys too much, that's a very unique type of situation. But yes, you're going to get the hate. You're going to get the people talking down on you, especially the women who are going to be praying for your downfall. People are very miserable. And again, I've seen it here even on my channel. Let's check out a few more comments. This lady says, enjoy it while it lasts. I'm sorry you were hurt, but not everyone is miserable. I've seen these comments. People are like, enjoy it while it lasts. He's going to cheat on you. Here's somebody else who says, my ex did all that and still cheated. So they're quoting comments that people leave underneath their videos. Goes on to say, you'll get used to it someday. All men cheat. That's another quote there. Like, can y'all stop deflecting? Go to therapy, not my comment section. Somebody else, he says, some people cannot stomach seeing people are truly happy and will do anything to try to wallow in their own misery and apply it to the world around them. I didn't realize this was that bad. I really didn't. I really did not realize it was as bad as it was until I started growing up more and seeing that there are people who look at happy people, other happy people, and they feel bad and they just have to say something negative to make themselves feel better because somebody is in a happy place. Another comment here says, please continue gatekeeping. It's not worth the stress. It's not. Somebody else here added, misandrists are wild out here. They love to bash men for existing and will tarnish happiness in couples. Another person here says, happily married 28 years, and we don't share anything with anybody. I comment vague things sometimes, but I've goofed recently and commented the other day that not all in-laws are bad and was warned they would switch up on me even after 28 years of being complete.
So we've seen a lot of posts on here about people gatekeeping happy marriages, right? So we've seen a lot of posts on here about people gatekeeping happy marriages, right? So on the one hand, I get it, because especially if you're surrounded by the wrong people, you get too happy and they start nitpicking and planting stuff, and you want to keep your happiness to yourself because you want to stay happy. The other part of me that happens to be on a platform talking about my happy marriage wants more people to talk about it so that more people know that they exist. It almost seems like all of the anger and hurt and sadness and frustration is at the forefront and all of the happiness is in the back. And again, I get wanting to protect your relationship, wanting to protect your happiness, your own mental, but at the same time, you want to also be like a support for people who may just feel like there is no happiness out there. It's never going to find me. They have not seen it in their own lives. And they're just hoping, wishing, and praying. It always shocks me when people are like, you seem so happy, especially people that I know. Like, I get a lot of people now at work who come up to me like, I saw your podcast and you guys are so happy. It's nice to see. And that almost makes me sad because it's like, it's a shock that someone can actually be happy in their marriage. You're supposed to be happy in your marriage. You're supposed to want to shout it from the rooftops and want everyone to see it. I think that we lose something when we have to keep it a secret. Like, I'm not saying go and gloat about it, flaunt it to other people, just live in it, right? You don't have to go hop on the internet and start a podcast or get on here and shout it, but just live in it. It's okay to just be happy and express that your partner is not making you happy because, you know, you have to make your own self happy, but that you're just happy with your partner.
I'll say this. If she feels called and, you know, she's obviously married, there are people who feel called to create a platform that's like marriage focused and they're focused on ways to work through relationships, conversations, so on and so forth. I think that's great, right? And for those people, they're going to get that audience. One thing that I've noticed, you know, after doing this for 5 years, I remember somebody saying, oh, you know, these platforms, they push negativity and toxicity all the time. I thought to myself, you know, that's really interesting. Part of me wondered, why do people have that expectation? You know, because, for example, no one goes on the news and says, why is CNN always reporting on negativity? Or Fox. No one looks at like traditional media and says, why do they always report on toxicity? Or whether you're watching Divorce Court, why can't they have a positive couple come up? You know? And, you know, I just have to remind people, because I don't think people see, because these platforms are so personal, they think you should be doing this. No. I think if that's what you feel called to do, then do it. I'm sure this lady serves an audience. And again, guys, I'll be careful with the word happy and just using happy and saying you're supposed to feel happy. From what I've seen, marriages along, maybe it's me spending so much time with the elderly for most of my life. I remember an elderly couple telling me that they had 10 years where they pretty much couldn't stand each other. And you may think, wow, I would never go through that for 10 years. But this couple, the husband was 99 and the wife was 100. And if they got married in their early 20s, you realize that was a small portion of their marriage, right? Life is long.
Like, I just want more people to share that.
Yeah, I would like more people to share it too. But I think I'm
happy to see a husband here.
Reason why people are having this conundrum here where they're just like, they don't believe that happy marriages or happy relationships is because I think we have that negative review syndrome. You know how you go online and you see a product you might want to buy or a restaurant you might want to go to. You look at the reviews. I don't know how many people do this, but you know, you look at the reviews and you'll see all these negative comments up first, even if it has like a 4.5 stars or something like that.
Right.
You'll see all these negative comments and you'll be like, you know what? I'm actually not going to eat there because these people said it was nasty.
Right.
So, but then if you look at the whole, you know, list of comments, you will see that there are quite a few positive comments down there, but you can't even get to them because there's a small forest of negative comments in the beginning. And I think that's kind of how we kind of conduct ourselves. Unfortunately, you know, as humans, we lean more into the negative, I guess, as a survival tactic. So it's just like, we look at the negative and we're just like, you know what, I'm not going to try that because what if that happens to me? But
right.
You're not even understanding that the negative comments that you're hearing are people that are basing their negative experiences off of 4 or 5 people that they dealt with. You kind of got to take that with a grain of salt a lot of times, but I get it, because people will be like, well, how do you explain so many people have a negative experience, even if it is with 4 or 5 people? Again, I don't know if y'all know it, but it's billions of people. I don't really think that people know or can really fathom, you know, how much a billion people is. Like that's a lot of people. So we just can't take these negative experiences from everybody and just use that to inform our complete, you know, knowledge of the opposite.
I think.
Okay. So I agree with the first part. I disagree with the second part. What this brother was saying here. The part I agree with is, yes, we do tend to lean towards being more affected to negative comments, negative news. And that's part of just who we are as humans, right? We want to survive. So we're attuned to danger. So when you hear something, you pay more attention to the negative side of things. It's who we are, human nature. But here's where I disagree. I don't blame people to a certain extent. I don't. Because if marriage had a rating, and I like that he used the restaurant idea, and particularly where we experience it here, where they aren't a billion people in the US. But if marriage had a rating in the West, it wouldn't be a 3-star. Definitely wouldn't be a 4-star. A 5-star would be laughable. It would be like a 2.5. And if you saw a restaurant with 2.5 stars, you know, if you check those comments, there would be most likely negative comments. So there's a part of me that really doesn't fault people, right? This is why I stopped at one point, guys. I used to think everybody needs to get married. I'm talking when I was young, right? Growing up, you know, you get taught, you're supposed to grow up, you're supposed to get married, and that's what everyone's supposed to do. And, you know, that's what God wants for you. And then you grow up and you realize not everyone gets married. Not everyone values marriage. But not only that, some people have terrible marriage experiences. Are you supposed to remarry? Right? There are a lot of people who've been through divorce. And I'm not trying to justify the negativity, but they are giving their real life experience. And I'm not surprised that the majority of it is negative. And I think at that point, it's like, it's up to you. Do you want to deal with that negativity? Yes, a few might listen. A few might actually be positively influenced. If you want to talk about your relationship, put yourself out there, but is it worth it? I just think people need to be careful, because in the end, you can end up putting stress on your marriage, right? You can end up weakening you guys' peace at home, which nobody wants.
So I saw a creator on here talking about and asking, why do happily married couples, happily married women gatekeep their marriages? And I'll say this year, my husband and I will be married 15 years. And
Wow.
I know for me personally, I started to gatekeep my marriage when the continuous comments about us not really being happy, people asking, are you sure you're happy? I had an older woman a year or so into our marriage ask if we're still happy. And I said, yes, we are. We love each other, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, we'll see.
See, why would you say that? Why say something like that?
I have a YouTube channel, and we started vlogging our journey, being married, also believing God for children. And the comments that were coming from people that we knew, unfortunately, was not quite nice. We found out that we were the topic of some group chats. And also, like, oh, there's no way they're that happy, blah, blah, blah. I remember my husband bought me a car. That was a conversation, all those things. And so eventually we started to just close up. We started to keep things to ourselves, and because it honestly, it was very discouraging. It wasn't fun. Like, you're supposed to celebrate happiness and marriage and all those things. And, when you're constantly hearing conversations or whatever about, they faking, they such and such, they blah, blah, blah. It's like, you're like, you know what? All right, let me just stay here in my bubble. So yeah, we gatekeep. We definitely gatekeep. I know now, as we've gotten older,
Right.
we do share things here and there because we're both on social media. And, I think it's important to show healthy relationships, healthy marriages, healthy, happy families. But there are certain things that we still gatekeep because people are weird. And some people are just very unhappy in their relationships and the things that they don't have or they wish they had. So instead of celebrating, they choose to comment negatively. So, I gatekeep a little bit. We gatekeep a little bit. But, we're finding that balance again, of course, to show, that there are happy marriages out there. So
Nice.
15 years in, and that's my best friend.
Wow, that's beautiful. What a refreshing video I just did today. I'm proud of myself.
Drink the coffee, it'll make you feel better.
This is usually the shit show over here. We're usually looking at everything. This was great. Ladies, to the women, subscribe to the Coffee Pot. Head over, give this lady a follow on TikTok if you are on there. A few comments here, just a few. Top comment here says that there's a difference between gatekeeping happy marriages versus keeping people out of your business. Hey, you could do both. Somebody else who says, I've been married for 19 years as of this May. I don't discuss my marriage with anyone. We worked together for almost 20 years and only a few knew we were married. We worked together for almost 20 years and only a few knew we were married. Really? It's kind of crazy. This year, we decided to not put anything on social media about anniversaries and such. We know what we are to each other and we don't need to try to make others believe it. I gatekeep and will gatekeep forever. Another person who says marriage is sacred and should be treated as such. Yeah.
I do happily married couples, happily married women gatekeep their marriage.
Because there's people who are low-key praying for the downfall of your marriage. And it be some of the closest people to you. Keep gatekeeping.
First thing that comes to my mind are the amount of women who just hope, they see a good husband. Of course, I'm going to big up the men over here. They see a good husband and they just wish they could catch you slipping, right? They wish that the divorce could happen. They're ready to swoop in. Top comment here says, when I was engaged to my husband, one of his female friends said to one of his guy friends, when they don't work out, put in a good word for me with him. Wow, there you go. That's when we started gatekeeping our relationship. Women especially, this chick says, are out to see good relationships fail, unfortunately. Hey guys, as always, I appreciate you checking out yet another episode of the Coffee Pod to my currently engaged or soon to be married men. If you need a prenup and would like a guide that shows you how to get a solid and legally binding prenuptial agreement, hit the link pinned to the top of the comment section and access your guide at fathershaverights.com today.